Hey there! So today we're diving into a tool that is so powerful it can make a line of poetry completely unforgettable. It's called repetition. Think of it as the secret ingredient poets use to ramp up emotion and make words really stick in our heads. Let's get right into it.
First, let me ask you something. You know how some song lyrics or lines from a poem just get stuck in your head? You find yourself humming them, quoting them. You just can't shake them. Well, the answer, more often than not, is the really clever use of repetition.
So here's our game plan for today. We're going to cover what repetition actually is, why poets use it so much, and the main types you'll come across. Then we'll see it in action with some real examples, and finally, I'll give you a guide on how to spot it yourself.
Okay, let's start with the absolute basics. At its heart, repetition is what I like to call the echo effect in poetry. It's the technique that makes words and ideas kind of bounce around in your head long after you've finished reading.
And you know, the key word here is intentional. This isn't some accident or a poet being lazy. No way. They are deliberately repeating words or phrases or even sounds to hit a specific goal, to really emphasize an idea, create a musical rhythm, or stir up some powerful feelings in you, the reader. So that leads us to the big question, right? Why? Why do poets repeat themselves? I promise you, it's not because they've run out of words. It is a very deliberate choice, a super powerful technique they use to shape how we experience the poem.
I mean, just look at all the things it can do. Repetition is incredibly versatile. It can hammer home a key idea, give a poem a beautiful song-like quality, or build up this intense wave of emotion. It's basically the poet's way of grabbing you by the shoulders and saying, hey, pay attention to this part.
All right, let's open up the Poet's Toolkit and take a look at the different forms repetition can actually take. There are a few key types you are going to see all the time, and we'll start with the most direct one.
First up, we've got the most straightforward one, word repetition. This is exactly what it sounds like. A single word is repeated to really drive a point home. It adds stress and focus exactly where the poet wants it. Just listen to this classic line from The Rime of the Ancient Mariner. You don't just read that the sailor is alone, do you? You feel that crushing, absolute isolation because the word alone just keeps coming back at you. It is so much more powerful than saying it just once.
Next up in the toolkit is phrase repetition. Now here, the poet takes it up a notch by repeating an entire group of words. And this is a fantastic way to make a central idea or a memory just completely unforgettable.
This quote from Elie Wiesel's Night is a perfect and devastating example. That phrase, never shall I forget, it acts like a drumbeat of trauma. It sears the memory into your mind just as it was seared into the author's. The repetition gives it this immense weight and seriousness.
Then we have the repetition of an entire line, which we often call a refrain. You see this all the time in songs and ballads, right? A refrain works like a chorus. It anchors the poem and gives it this really memorable, almost cyclical structure.
And finally, there's sound repetition. Now this one's a little more subtle. It's closely linked to other poetic devices you might know, like alliteration and consonance. By repeating certain sounds, a poet can really boost the poem's musical quality, making it more pleasing to listen to and creating a very specific mood.
All right, theory is great, but let's see how this actually works in the wild. We're going to look at some real examples from poems that a lot of you are probably studying in school right now.
So check this out. This table shows us exactly how the type of repetition creates a very specific effect. In Amanda, repeating the name over and over again perfectly mimics that feeling of constant nagging. In Daffodils, that repeated gazed really emphasizes a deep, long-lasting sense of wonder. And look at the heart of the tree. That refrain unifies the whole poem. And in Half Past Two, repeating that capitalized phrase, something very wrong, just perfectly captures a child's overwhelming sense of fear. See how it works?
So you now know what it is and why it's used. The next step is turning you into a repetition detective. Here are some super simple tricks to help you spot it in pretty much any poem you read.
Okay, think of this as your personal checklist. When you're reading, ask yourself, is a word or phrase being used more than once? If I read it out loud, does it sound kind of musical, almost like a chant? Does the repetition seem to be highlighting a really strong emotion, like joy or fear? Are whole lines popping up again at the end of stanzas? If you can tick any of these boxes, you have almost certainly found repetition at work.
And hey, if you're ever in an exam and you need a quick win, this is it.
Seriously, if you see something, a word, a phrase, a line being repeated to strengthen a point or create a rhythm, you can confidently call it out as repetition. It's one of the easiest devices to spot and honestly one of the most effective to analyze.
So, I'll leave you with this thought. The game isn't just about finding repetition anymore. Now that you can spot it, the real question is, what message, what feeling, what unforgettable idea is the poet trying to echo in your mind?